Markets Now is brought to you by the 5-year anniversary of Brevant Seeds. Here's to 5 years of not just winning, but collecting one game-changing W after another. See all of our wins at brevant.com/wins.
And welcome to Markets Now. I'm Michelle Rourke with Randy Martinson of Martinson Ag. Mixed over in the livestock so far this morning. Grains are mostly lower except for some fractional gains in the corn market. Okay, big news this morning is we did get confirmation, Randy, of the China soybean purchases that pushed the market up, 33 cents yesterday, huh?
Yeah, that was, I think it was a combination of that, the rumor that China was in buying. There was a lot of rumors of what they were buying, but we got the confirmation today of the 792,000 metric ton, which, nice sale. It really helped the market. It's confirmation that China's in and at least they're buying. But I also think yesterday's strength also came off of the NOPA crush numbers, which, were wildly bullish coming in at sharply higher or sharply record level.
Yeah, I think 200 and what did I write down? 27 million bushels. So yeah, that is a record. And we do have some new crush plants that have come online, right?
Exactly, and we do know that the crush has been moving pretty strong. I mean, that has been one of the saving graces in the soybean industry, this last year as we're switching over to the renewable fuels, especially the renewable diesel fuel. So we've been seeing a good crush market, and we've set records just about every month. But this one was an extremely large record, or above the previous record. So it shows that industry is building.
So strong demand coming at the market, but we have it priced in. Soybeans are a little bit lower this morning. So we need some more bullish confirmation of more China purchases here to keep the market going, or what?
Yeah, we do. I mean, the bull needs to be fed every day. And, this is confirmation of yesterday. And now we've been told that, yesterday the administration came out and said that, China's going to come into this maybe a little slower than what was first anticipated. They're going to be buying between, now the end of the year and into the spring. So it kind of, extends their purchasing time frame. But if they come in and they look at buying what they said they're going to buy or what we've been told they're going to buy, that certainly will continue to help bring some support into the market.
It makes sense, though, that they would be buying it over the next 6 weeks here or more because Brazil's crop's going to be coming on fairly soon, right?
Exactly. I mean, they're seeing good planting progress, and they're likely going to start seeing their harvest, in full swing by February. So they'll start to take some of their sales will start sometime January, February, and for their shipments about a month later. So it would be, prudent that we start getting a little bit busier on getting these sales made. It needed to happen soon. I mean, that was one of the things, is that if we were going to see that much shipped or move to China, we had to get purchases started here very soon.
Yeah, 12 million metric tons. That's like 440 million bushels. That's a lot to move through this system in a pretty short amount of time, isn't it?
Exactly, especially when you're looking at 3 weeks being holidays coming up here too, because you got Thanksgiving next week, you got the Christmas holiday and the New Year holiday. So that's going to slow things down. We basically had 12 weeks, starting last week. With 3 of them gone, that doesn't leave a lot to get a lot of grain moved.
Where do you see the next resistance areas here on the charts for soybeans, Randy?
For the January contract, I would say we're going to be looking in that probably that 1165 area. Then 1195 would be the next target after that. And, we're really close to the 1165. We're fading a little bit today as we're kind of, we bought the rumor, now we're selling the fact. So I think that's taking place here right now. But I do think if we can get this market up to above that 1165, we're definitely going to see this thing test that 12s.
Yeah, it feels like the funds are really piling in here now, right?
They're switching out of their shorts and they're getting into the long position. I think, it would be nice to see that commitment of traders report. Hopefully we'll get a look at it here this Friday, but so far no indication of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, corn has been following soybeans for the most part. We're trying to hold on to gains a little bit this morning, despite the fact the soybean market is down, but corn effectively still in a trading range, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's been kind of, yesterday was kind of disappointing, I thought, for corn. I mean, we only eked out about a 4 or 5 cent gain, and that was after seeing a record, well, one of the sixth highest export inspection numbers for corn in history. So a little disappointed corn couldn't take a little bit more news of its own and trade. It is continuing to follow the soybeans, but we do have a massive crop out there right now. We've got a lot of piles that have to be cleaned up. And I think that's just kind of keeping a little bit of a wet blanket on corn right now.
Right, because we had a big harvest. We've got some elevators that are actually not taking any corn right now because they just don't have any place to put it, right?
Right. I mean, that's one of the situations we're running to up here in the Northern Plains is that, elevators are full. They've got their piles, as many piles as they can get established. So right now they have to wait for trains, and that's kind of causing some to shut down for, afternoons while they fill the trains before they can get room to take in more corn.
Well, and we got proof of that in the crop progress number that USDA gave us late yesterday on harvest, right?
We did, yeah. Late yesterday, they came out with their numbers, and corn harvest coming in at I think 91%, versus what 97 I think it was last year at this time, somewhere in that range. So we are a little bit behind last year, but we do have, like you mentioned, a lot bigger crop, a lot more acres, so it's taken a little longer to get it brought in.
Yeah, unlike you though, I still feel like with the exports that we have coming at the market or the demand coming at the corn market, it still has just felt a little heavy. So for sure. All right, the wheat market, we had a chart breakout yesterday. What caused that? Was that all technical, and why no follow through today?
Wheat is playing a follower. I mean, we did get a little indication from the November the crop production report that everybody in the world is producing more wheat this year, not just the US, but all of the major exporting countries except Ukraine. And that, I think, that kind of threw the wet blanket there, kept the wet blanket on wheat. We had a good breakout yesterday. I think some of that is because of the crop progress report that was going to come out. Low crop ratings. They're having some trouble as far as getting the winter wheat all planted because of some delayed harvests with soybeans in some of the southern regions. And I rumor that we possibly are going to be looking at a 10%, 12% less acres. I think all that helped to support the market and spill over from the soybeans. But wheat needs to get more news of its own to continue to see any kind of movement at this point.
Well, what was surprising to me about yesterday's rally, Randy, was that you had ending stocks, U.S. basis, go up in the report on Friday, and global stocks went up like almost 7.5 million metric tons. There was nothing bullish about that.
Absolutely nothing bullish for the wheat market. I mean, that was one of the worst numbers that we saw for wheat, and having U.S. stocks at over 900 million certainly doesn't mean this market has any chance of stage any big rally at this point.
Absolutely. Do you think funds have been covering their short position in the wheat market? Obviously, we'd know if we had a commitment of traders report, but does it feel like we're getting money starting to come into wheat, the entire grain complex?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it does feel that way, especially, with the news of, China coming in and buying and, with corn. I mean, it seems more that that's what we're looking at, is that this market is seeing the funds switch out of their short positions and starting to go, or at least go even or go to the long side, because we just haven't enough consistent news to keep the market rallying. So some of it, I think, is just fund covering.
Gotcha. Okay, cattle market, we have been trying to recover off of last week's lows, which were pretty key support areas that we held, right?
They were. I mean, you look at that. I mean, that was a pretty strong support when we dropped down to, close to the recent lows, or at least, the run that we've seen. And we're starting to see a little bit better news into the marketplace. Right now, as far as the cattle are concerned, we know what we are going to have as far as imports from other countries. Brazil's was a little bit better news than what we were anticipating. And the idea that we're keeping the border closed with Mexico, I think all of that is very helpful news and should help put some sort of a floor in this market short term.
Yeah, we're struggling a little bit here this morning, but I have to feel like we at least ripped one Band-Aid off here, knowing now that Brazil's tariffs are down 10%, but still at 66.4% is effectively going to keep a lot of that product out of our market, isn't it?
It is, and that was the one that everybody was worried about. I mean, Brazil has the opportunity to bring a lot of beef into the U.S. and all different kinds of cuts. So that was the one thing that most were concerned with. Knowing, getting this confirmation, that's certainly friendly news to the cattle market.
Yeah, but if we had a commitment of traders report, we could certainly have a little bit better evidence of the fact that the funds have been liquidating, right?
Most definitely. I mean, that's the feel over there. I mean, just the opposite of what we're seeing in the grain side, we're seeing in the livestock side, and that is a lot of fun short covering or long, getting out of their long positions. I don't know if they're going to the short side yet, but I definitely think that they've liquidated a majority of their long positions.
Yeah, and they had a big long for sure. Okay, funds also had a big long in the hogs. They got out of a lot of that position perhaps as well, but pushed by lower cash and cutout values. But the hogs, a little bounce today. Can we build on it?
I mean, it's possible. I mean, I think it's going to take cattle to go with them to be able to do that. We've also seen the corn and the soybean meal market go up quite a bit. I think that's put some extra pressure on the hogs. If corn continues to rally, that might kind of keep a limit on what hogs will do. Soybean meal, if we can see that continue to turn and we see more push in the soybean oil because of the crush numbers now, maybe that will help.
Okay, thanks so much. Randy Martinson with Martinson Ag. That is Markets Now.
When you choose Brevant seeds, you don't just win. You win so big, the very ground beneath your feet cries tears of joy. You win so big that second place feels like a participation trophy. You win so big, you might as well be harvesting buried treasure. Oh, sorry, just one more. When you choose Brevant seeds, you don't just win. You hit the damn jackpot. Don't just win. Talk with your retailer or visit Brevant.com/jackpot to get started.